rise from the depths of history to change our future into one with a purpose. One where you will tune your ears into the GeekVerse. Geeks Creed Episode 9, featuring your hosts, Taylor Field and Reuben Olson. Listen onward to discover everything there is to know about the upcoming Assassin's Creed Origins.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning back into Geeks Creed, and boy, is it ever a large episode. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. E3 has just happened. Ubisoft hit out of the park. Xbox hit out of the park. Sony did. I'd say overall it wasn't a bad conference this year for everyone. Got a lot of good games coming up, but we're here.
For one game in particular,
Yeah.
and that is Assassin's Creed Origins. It looks like pretty much all the leaks basically came true. I gotta say, there's a lot to talk about for that, but I believe we have some form of a structure for this episode, at least for talking about the game. Before we get to that, it came up on screen, I was like, oh, is this Assassin's Creed? Oh, it totally freaking is. And I watched the whole gameplay trailer. I'm so happy they showed gameplay first, basically. They didn't show like a crappy cinematic and then tease us more with it. They said, hey, this is happening. Here's all this cool stuff you can do. And they showed all that gameplay, and that really pulled me into it. Mainly because what they showed is so different. It's definitely going to breathe a breath of fresh air into the franchise, which is what they need to do. And we've talked about that before. How did you feel when you saw it?
I wasn't expecting it to drop with Xbox. As soon as, once it kind of puts you in that tone, you can see the Egyptian kind of background, the theme, and it was in my mind thinking, oh, is this it, or is this not it? I don't know.
That's right, that was trippy, because it was on the Xbox conference,
Yeah.
and that got me, too.
Yeah, it totally got me. But then as soon as I saw the hawk or the eagle fly in, I'm like, oh, no way. And then, sure enough, you see Dark Souls character walking through the hallway. But no, it blew me away. I didn't have any problems with them dropping a little bit of gameplay afterwards. I thought, why not? I mean, I knew that Ubisoft would have an extended version of that too, but it was perfect. It captured my interest. It looked fresh. It looked new. Can't go wrong with this, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I mean, this is definitely the first Assassin's Creed game in a while that I'm probably going to pre-order.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, for sure. I want to actually play this one. It's not going to come out and I'm going to go, do I want to play another Assassin's Creed? No, this one's going to come out and I'm going to be like, yeah, it's the new Assassin's Creed. This game's different.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it out.
Yeah. Well, I already pre-ordered mine, but up
Of course
in
you
Canada, yeah, Canada, we don't get the greatest copies. For Assassin's Creed, I used to be able to go to my local EB Games and be like, yeah, I want the $150 edition. It comes with the statue and everything, and now it's just a little steel case. If I want the statue bundle, I gotta go online and order it, which I'm probably gonna have to do.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
how
I
it
picture
goes.
you with GeekVerse watching the E3, and everyone's huddled around the TV looking at the screen. The pyramids come up, and you're like, is this Assassin's Creed? And they look over to you, the one man who knows everything about Assassin's Creed, and you've already taken off to EB Games to go pre-order. You're just gone. You're not even there anymore.
I would have gone that day, but we were so busy. I went early the next day, and I was there. Unfortunately, I got there an hour early. EB Games hadn't even opened yet. And I had to wait to do the PC conference, so I had to wait. And it was horrible, but you know what? I'm all for those pre-order bonuses. That's what gets me.
Well, I say we start with the game. That's what we're all here for. Let's start with the world. Basically, the whole Egypt leak was definitely true. I certainly believed it beforehand. I don't know what else to say about that. It's Egypt, folks. There's some rumors floating around that it's 3 times the size of Black Flags. I believe that was in the leaks as well.
It was.
But
yeah.
I don't think that was actually confirmed. I'm sure it'll be big.
It definitely, they didn't confirm it was 3 times the size, but they did say, this isn't villages and cities. This is a country you're exploring with multiple dozens of cities in this country, so.
That would be cool. If it's the size of Just Cause or something like that. Just Cause 2 had a huge map. It was almost too big. And that could be cool if there's a lot of places to go. Although I am worried about one thing in the world, and that is, because it's Egypt, I know it's lush and filled with scenery, but there's still going to be desert, and there's going to be long desert treks. How are they going to handle that? Is it going to be like the snow parts in Assassin's Creed 3? where you're just trudging through snow for like an hour.
They did say you can fast travel, and then, or if you want, you can actually go off on your own, or your mounts have an autopilot mode as well.
Okay.
So they're trying to give you multiple ways to handle that. There are long parts of desert, you're right, but I know that they did emphasize that, like, all along the Nile, there's tons of oases that are implanted in this game. So it won't be completely the same scenery, hopefully, because treading through that snow is definitely a pain.
There was quite a lot of shots in the gameplay that looked different than what I expected, like how lush it was. All the grass and palm trees and stuff like that. And then they even go underwater at one point too, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got like the tombs and the pyramids you're going to go inside. At one point they show like a giant snake boss or something like that. I really hope we got to fight it. I hope there's going to be more like that.
Yeah.
I'd totally fight like a giant scorpion or something too. That'd be amazing.
That was definitely something I did not expect. A giant cobra? That was like, wow. But you're right. Like the pyramids, underwater exploration, everywhere. Like it was much more lush than I was expecting. Because when you say Egypt, you just think sand and pyramids. How's there going to be much of like a lush kind of environment incorporated? But I mean, a lot of what they explained, like, it makes sense.
Yeah, in the Building an Empire video, they explained how they did all their historical research. Yet again, they've given all the NPCs schedules and stuff. They're really trying to fill out the desert in our minds that is Egypt. They're trying to fill it out as, like you said, a proper country with cities and villages. And there's trees and all that kind of stuff going on. And there's sand too. But again, like I said before, I'm still worried about the open desert spaces. We see that in the gameplay and trailer too, where there's like Bayek's riding on the back of a camel and there's just sand everywhere and he's going over a hill kind of. I'm fine with that in cutscenes, but I don't want to play that portion of the game very much.
So
maybe once or twice.
More fast travel kind of
guy? I don't advocate for fast travel in games. I feel like the world should be shaped around the gameplay, and they should never throw you at any point in the game where you're just walking, doing nothing.
That's a good
Walking
point.
from point A to point B is never a good thing. It should be walking along a destination, doing things. There's gameplay involved to get to point B.
So you're going to do a quest, and along your way to do that quest, you got 3 other quests that you got.
I don't like that either. Okay, no, I can't win this conversation. No.
I get what you mean, though. Just more of like an interactive experience, not pulling you away from your goal, but just more. It's interesting. It keeps you entertained as you're going along.
Definitely. All the animals and stuff they mentioned. That's something to bring up. Even in the gameplay, you see like hyenas or something like that.
Yeah, hyenas.
There's animals interacting with each other and like lions and stuff.
Yeah.
And they're all like fighting and...
That was really cool to see because I think they had the lion take down that one like gazelle, and then they had the hyenas, and then they had like a crocodile and hippo going at it.
Like, I wouldn't mind hunting and gathering some materials to maybe get some money. I don't want anything too intense for like crafting, but hunting's a joy in video games for me. I know a lot of people don't like it. I like hunting video games. But yeah, there's lots of different animals and stuff. That's something to do along point A to point B, you know?
Yeah. Assassin's Creed's really, it's picked up. I think it was, it had to be Assassin's Creed 3 that introduced the whole hunting aspect of the game. And you think it could be overwhelming, like to get all these certain specific things for your assassin. You got to kill these certain animals and get these certain things.
Like, that's the one thing I don't like is collect 4 bear asses and then form them into a pouch so you can store another bullet for your pistol. Like, nah.
I'm hoping they simplified a bit. Like, I like how it's very straightforward of a crafting system. And, well, I guess Assassin's Creed Revelations had it for bombs, but being able to hunt for things, yeah, it started in 3. 4 was amazing because you could go out in the sea and everything. But it's I'm sure they're going to have some major kind of crafting system in this.
I just want, like, you know, you kill a beast and you get maybe a pelt or something to sell for a lot of cash and you get some XP from it. And then maybe there's like an achievement or a goal to work towards for hunting. Like if you hunt this specific beast that's really rare and hard to find, you'll get some kind of an award. Or like Red Dead Redemption, where if you hunt all these animals, you get like a certain outfit and ability and all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't know if you had an ability in Red Dead. I don't know what I'm thinking, but you got a costume for sure. And I worked for that. And that was my favorite costume to wear.
So kind of something like taking on that giant cobra or maybe a scorpion.
Yeah, like,
you get
like there's an award to get for all the animals hunting and stuff.
Yeah.
That would definitely be really cool.
Speaking on the animals too, the mounts that they have now. We got to see the camels, and we know there's horses already. Do you think they're gonna slide in anything else?
Ride up a crocodile?
Ride up a crocodile? Yeah.
I'd like that. That'd be pretty cool. Or a giant crocodile boss that you can mount and ride.
That'd be pretty cool.
along with the topic of animals, there's also an eagle named Sinu, who is another leak that came true, saying that you could control an eagle friend or something like that. That's how we're going to use eagle vision in this game. Get to fly around in the air, control the eagle, set your targets, kind of see what's what on the map.
Yeah, I once I heard the fact you could have an eagle companion, I thought that was actually amazing, and I was hoping that leak would be true. I thought the way they showcased it was incredible. Like, this is a change up from Eagle Vision, like, completely.
It fits with the theme too.
It definitely fits with the theme. It's amazing, and to know that the characters, both Sinu and Bayek, have this connection with each other in that sense. Like,
and thank God, this will get rid of climbing the tall buildings just to get a bit of your map filled out.
Well, that's the thing. They did take out those tall buildings now with those viewpoints. That was something they eliminated. So that was something I always strive to do. Like, as you're going to do your quest, you're like, oh, there's a viewpoint. Go check it out.
Up that. Oh boy.
One thing that's neat about Sinu is actually he can fly far away from you without desyncing. He can't fly all the way down to the surface, but he can go like super, super high, which is great because he can mark icons, and that includes like supplies being carried by soldiers and all that sort of stuff. So like, he's a powerful asset, I'd say.
That's pretty cool. Moving on from our theme of the world, let's start talking about the combat. This is one of the biggest changes in this game. This is one of the most amazing changes. Finally, the whole wannabe Arkham style combat is gone. There's no more teleporting between targets. There's no more waiting to counter. This is straight up action RPG gameplay. You have all these different weapons you can use, and you've got to think how to use it. You've got what looks like a dedicated dodge. I'm not sure if there's a button for it or how you trigger it in game. But in the gameplay, we can see Bayek like back up really fast and like side dodge around, kind of like Bloodborne style. And that, coupled with the motions of the enemies that you're fighting, really makes the combat look like it's going to be a joy to figure out how to play.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, oh, I'm surrounded by 20 guys. Guess I'll just wait for 20 minutes until I can counter them all. You're actually gonna like struggle. Maybe there's some difficulty. You're gonna have to like maybe run away to heal and come back and fight something. And that brings all these enemies around you to another part of this change where they have a leveling system. All the enemies are probably going to be different levels. There's going to be different classes of enemies, I would assume. There might be a battle where you're fighting a bunch of guys and a big guard comes up and you can't handle that guard yet. You're just not strong enough. And that's going to bring quite a bit of a change to the series as well.
Yeah, you know, when I looked online afterwards, like, a lot of people are saying it looks like the same crappy combat system. Like, the combat system looks like it's not the greatest. And you know what? I just saw the greatest thing ever. It was a huge change. And in that video we just watched, they specifically say it's not going from character or enemy to enemy. If you go from an enemy to the side, you're going to swing at nothing but air. Like, you have to actually know what you're doing. You have to land these combos and properly fight. Otherwise, you're going to die. And I think that's great because, as you said, it's so easy. You could just counter, and then 20 minutes later, you're done. I mean, it doesn't make for a fun, engaging combat system, but the way they showcase the dodging and then incorporating how he's popping off a few arrows and then he's going in with the sword or whatever, like, he's just so, like, improvised with the different weapons that they're obviously showcasing.
And you know what that really reminds me of is that leak that said they were aiming for Witcher-styled gameplay. Because it's quite like that. It's like The Witcher, like Dark Souls, like a lot of other action RPG games as well. But that's what it felt like to me when I was looking at it. It looks not like Assassin's Creed combat anymore, which is a good thing.
Yeah. A lot of people wanted a change of combat, and they presented that. So,
like, there's even a shield now, too.
Yes, this is the first time we've gotten a shield. So, just to see some of the gameplay and how he's incorporating that, like blocking, using it to his advantage in combat, incredible. That, again, it adds a whole new curve on the combat system and what you're doing and how you're fighting.
I believe we saw the shield in the leak as well, didn't we?
Yeah, and those were some really early leaked pictures of Bayek standing out like in a crowd on top of this little podium kind of thing.
And there was that one where he's like in a tomb, and we were thinking it might be Prince of Persia or something. Like
that. And a lot of people were so convinced this was from a canceled Ubisoft game years ago. But you look at that shield, you look at him, that's Bayek. So
that's what they had going probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
When they started making the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said this has been in production since before Unity,
Before
right?
Unity came out. So, and a lot of people may get confused at that, but it's basically like Ubisoft has different branches all across Canada, like Ubisoft Toronto, Montreal, all that sort of stuff. So when one company or one branch is working on Assassin's Creed Unity, the other one has been working on Origins for like 4 years. So that's why it explains the fact that they can pump out year after year, because each one of these branches is working on the next sequel and they put years into it. So, but on that note about the abilities,
We've got the skill tree now.
yes, we got
There's
the skill tree.
leveling up, there's XP, there's loot, there's a skill tree. Let's cover all of that. And that is where the combat is going to take a turn. Because as you start playing the game, you're not going to be as effective as you would be 5 levels later. You're going to keep feeling that sense of progression as you play through the game. You're not going to feel like, oh, hey, I'm at chapter 5. I just know a bunch of cool new moves and I can kill some dudes faster. It's going to be that you've leveled up. You've gained new abilities that you've spent in your skill tree. So maybe you go, hey, I want this ability first, not that one, or I'll just skip that one entirely and focus on getting a really cool move now instead of later. And you'll have your weapons and your loot that are... There's rarities, there's different kinds of drops and stuff, as we could see from the gameplay. You're going to have all of that to push you forward into becoming a better player and a stronger character in the game.
That was one thing they did talk about. Now, you actually have to, if you want that wrist blade to get that one kill, that one hit kill on your enemy, you have to put your points and invest in being that kind of a character or assassin. If you want to be more stealthier, you got to invest down that pathway. And I think that's great because Syndicate, you had your skill tree, but you could unlock everything in your skill tree for your assassin. And I'm sure you could with this, but I feel like they're aiming for more of the sense where you don't get the freedom ability in the sense to just, oh, I got like 5 points, I'm just going to go all these different trees. Like, this is the pathway you have to go down. I'm sure that they'll give you a chance to maybe, like, if you want to take your points off or whatever and put it down a different tree to test it out, because the skill tree looked very detailed in the different things you could do. Like, it looked like you could have like an increase in your lungs or something with one of the symbols, so you could breathe or hold your breath longer underwater.
I think, and this is tied into another gameplay clip about the combat in the skill tree. I'm hoping it's part of the skill tree. There's a scene where Bayek jumps off a tree and he assassinates a guy with a bow.
Yes.
And the whole game slows down like a slow motion kill cam that lets you take the time to aim for his head and fire that bow. That reminds me a lot of Breath of the Wild, since I played that recently, where if you pull out your bow in midair, time kind of like stops for a couple seconds and allows you to move and aim and then fire your bow as if you just jumped and did it really fast. I feel like that's going to be a part of the skill tree, probably.
I would think
Something
so.
like that, like more time, more slow motion for certain kinds of shots with your bow and arrow. You could probably invest in being like a long-range assassin who also uses his hidden blade. Different classes and abilities like that, I think, are going to be really cool.
So it's been a while since we've had the bow now. I think the bow was brought in at Assassin's Creed 3, and this time it's gotten a huge upgrade. How do you feel? Because he said there were 3 kinds of bows.
I'm fine with 3 kinds of bows or more. I mean, if there's 3 different kinds and there's all those different rarities and drops, that's way more than technically just 3 bows you can use. You're going to keep grabbing different ones all the time. I do like their historical accuracy, though. This is something that Ubisoft loves to do. You've told me about this. We saw it in Building an Empire, and we've seen it in the gameplay as well. And I just know this from medieval European history and stuff. Back in the olden days when bows and arrows were the best thing ever, they were like these long-range weapons, and in our heads, we just picture someone like, pulling an arrow out of their sheath and wham, they fire and they have to reach to their back and pull out another arrow. And we go, well, that's kind of lame. Like, how would you shoot fast? Bayek has a whole bunch of arrows down along his elbow that he's holding in his hand, and 1 arrow in his fingers that he's firing. And then he grabs the other arrow and swings it up and fires again.
Really?
Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
That is historically accurate. There are medieval books, and this would be in Egypt as well, that archers would find ways to fire their bow more effectively, and that was one of them, is they would grab all their arrows at once, or as many as they could, and hold them in a way that was comfortable, like along their arm and elbow, and then just fire them one after another.
Wow, that's really cool.
And they've been testing this recently. You can fire bows at a really rapid pace, incredibly fast, like along horseback especially. You can just fire one bow like a second or 2 apart.
Yeah.
Fire an arrow, sorry, don't fire a bow. That's a very funny mental image. If you do it that way, though, you're doing it wrong, and you definitely won't hit your target.
That's actually really cool. I had no idea, and that was in the footage we just watched.
It was, as well as firing 5 arrows at once.
Yeah, the 5 arrows was awesome. That's the shotgun equivalent, I guess they were saying. And then you had the longer range, the sniper rifle alternative.
I find it funny to compare a bow to a sniper rifle.
I know, I do too.
It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, by a few feet per second behind that bullet and arrow, I'd say. The you definitely made a good point though. There's a lot more bows than just the 3, because when you find other bows, like say you find another shotgun like bow, it has the ability to give you 1 extra arrow to your quiver, or it has all these extra perks.
That Diablo-esque touch to the loot is pretty interesting. I think that it'll be quite lively to be able to like just be walking down the road, fight a few guys, and maybe find a bow that is equivalent to yours, and you go, do I really need this one? But then you look at the extra options it has, like those little extra points, like 1% chance to do 1% more damage, nothing like that. But like maybe you get something that shoots with a poison effect, or it's got an extra arrow, like you said, something like that, and you'll have to gauge which bow do I want to use now.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And they also, in that sense too, the way you use your bow, you got to make sure you're getting a bow with these good perks that can suit your advantage in combat. And seeing Bayek riding horseback now, and he just turns backwards and he's firing at the guys behind him. I mean, that's cool. And on top of that, the it was the world premiere trailer. He fires his arrow, and you get to take control of that arrow too.
That's probably not historically accurate, but
No.
yes, that's that was kind of cool, I suppose. I think of like Metal Gear Solid when I think of that, like with the rockets and stuff that you could control.
Yeah.
But yeah, the combat's certainly going to be interesting in this game. That's the biggest change for me. That is a huge plus. Moving on, we are going through the storyline. The storyline of Assassin's Creed Origins, hence the name, is going to be the origin of the Brotherhood.
Yes.
Is that in line with the lore so far?
I've not seen or read any kind of content that's gone before Altair. I mean, I'm sure that it exists out there. I'm not aware of it, but every comic book, every novel, every little bit of information that I've seen has just been Altair and to present day. That's it. So I really don't know anything at this point. This is all new. As far as I'm aware, I would think that this is predating Templars, because Templars formed out in the Crusades. So I'm really wondering, what is it that instigated Bayek to form this brotherhood?
Maybe at the end of the game we'll see the Templars rise.
I'd be hyped. That would be just killer. Like, holy smokes. I mean, I can't remember, did they date this game? Like, if we're trying to figure out the time period between this and AC1, it's got to be, it's obviously a few hundred years.
Oh, yeah, I'd say it's in line with, like, the biblical age.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll actually get to see some live happenings of, like, the Apple of Eden and stuff like that.
That'd be really cool.
Because we've gotten snippets of it, like the memories and stuff, but I want to see something actually happen in-game, in cutscene, live, to our character, of a change or an effect or just some weird bit of lore or a god or something like that. Some really big kind of a deal happen in this game. But what we do know about the story so far, Bayek is, as far as we know, a guy who just kind of fights to prevent Egypt from corruption.
He's the last Magi, so he's an Egyptian knight or soldier, and he is, as far as I'm aware, he's protecting his village, and something happens, and now he's got the hood, but they express the point that it's not just a guy pulling a hood on and just going to town. He's got serious reasons for doing this, which could lead to, like you said, there's an event with a piece of Eden or something very drastic.
Speaking of the hood, because it's like the eagle hood, he's got a pet eagle. So he's going to be making an outfit or something, and he's going to go, hey, yeah, I like my little eagle friend. I'm going to honor him.
That's something I forgot to mention. The hood is toggle now. You can take it off or on, which I think is great. A lot of people wanted it. I didn't mind it, but yeah, they're...
I think it's better for blending in to take the hood off at times.
Yeah?
Because you don't stand out like an assassin.
That's
true. But then they weren't expecting it in those days.
No, they weren't.
Back in Egypt. They weren't going to go, that guy's an assassin, he's got one of them assassin hoods. I recognize them from the other Assassin Creeds.
Yeah, so he's got the edge of being the first assassin. Going for him. Looking at his whole suit, you say like the eagle obviously is what inspired the hood. What do you think of his rest of his suit and his apparel?
I'm sure they looked at Egyptian history and stuff to figure out what he would be wearing around that time, but it looks cool. It's nothing amazing. It blends with his character well, and it gives him access to having a place to put his sword and his bow and all that, and his shield.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so he's the last Magi. He's obviously... I'm excited just to figure out what's going on with him.
How does he lose his finger?
You know, I don't think a lot of people even caught on to that, but yeah, Bayek, he's rocking the missing ring finger like Altair. We haven't had that in Assassin's Creed games since AC1, so...
Maybe he makes the hidden blade, and he stabs himself with it.
By an accident. He's like, I'll just say this is an initiation for future generations, just to cover my my mistake. You know, I'm just trying to figure out how he was able to build the hidden blade. Like, what did he tap into? Because Altair used the Apple of Eden to build the hidden gun and access so many more things, like creating the codex for Leonardo da Vinci to decipher and make new weapons and everything. So I'm wondering, what did Bayek use?
I think you had a picture of it, didn't you? What did it look like? Did it look like there were any mechanisms on it, or did it look very rudimentary?
Let me pull it up here. Yeah, that's a good point. Take a look. It definitely looked like it had a mechanism on it, because the blade shoots out forwards.
Oh, it has something. It's like there's like a string maybe, or...
But
we're looking at a picture of it, and it's just like a very basic leather gauntlet. It's got the hidden blade, and it's been clasped onto the gauntlet with like another piece of leather, I think. It's probably the most simple looking hidden blade we've seen so far.
the blade itself looks very, like, it'll kill someone, but it's very
It's hollow in the center.
it's hollow. So
It's like it's just the outline of the blade. That must be it's held in place by something, and then he... Oh, look at that. Is that a string going to his finger?
That is a string coming out. Yeah, so the string is coming out of where his wrist is. And maybe it is going to his finger, maybe, so...
So it's going to work just like the gauntlets that you own.
Yeah, pretty much. It's neat to see this, because this is on his left arm with his shield. So, you know, I didn't actually look to see if he was rocking dual wrist blades. But he is using gauntlets on both his hands. So, I mean, if they brought dual wrist blades, that would be a pretty cool feature again.
Probably a skill tree kind of thing, or maybe something you just craft.
Like they said, yeah, if you want to make your hidden blades a one-stab kill, you got to upgrade it. So, that'd be pretty cool.
That's the sound of my root beer. Sorry, folks. So what do you think we're going to see then in the way of villains in this game? Are there going to be any, or is it just going to be general targets that you're going to assassinate?
I think that from what the world premiere trailer was showcasing, the guy narrating was saying, like, we were the first to see the gods, we're the first to do all these different things, see the animals, all this stuff. So it sounded like some very almighty man just feeling like he's big and he's on top and he's in control. And then he goes into saying, like, but there is brotherhood that's out there, and they are the first to call themselves the assassins, and he sounds like he's threatened by this. So it goes to show...
it could be like Ramses maybe, or Moses, or it could be some pharaoh that's been corrupted, or it could be some god maybe.
It could be, you know, the pieces of Eden, they have a very Egyptian kind of look to them. So, you know, it could instigate, like, we get to that...
Yeah, that would be cool, actually.
Yeah.
You assassinate Ra, and then you get a piece of Eden.
That would be so cool. I mean, you know, it could tie into with why, maybe in this storyline, why they're building the pyramids. Maybe because they found an artifact, and then a pharaoh is using it to his advantage. Maybe it could be Ra or something like that. We don't know. That would be really, really cool for a tie-in. I mean, we got giant snakes. So who's to say we're not going to get giant other things, too?
I love giant snakes.
So what do we got next?
Well, I think that's pretty much it for the storyline, because that really hasn't been talked about too much.
No, we're going to have to wait a little more.
Got a little bit from the cinematic intro, and then we got a bunch of gameplay. And as far as I care, I'm all for the gameplay.
Oh, yeah.
The story is like a nice addition on top of that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that is basically all we know. Pretty much all the leaks came true.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of a leak off the top of my head that wasn't.
No, and you know, Ubisoft apparently, they gotta get a hold on their leaks there, because there's quite a bit of content.
To be fair, this game's been in production for so long.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep it secret for that long, too.
Especially in this day and age. I guess we got the editions now, right?
Yes, we do. There's a couple of crazy editions out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
If you want to get the game, there's the pre-order, and probably some pre-order bonuses. There's pre-order DLC. There's collector's editions. There's like a legendary edition, then a collector's edition, am I right?
There's the collector, there's they're all called collector's editions, and then there's the subtitle of a collector's edition, God's edition, Dawn of the Creed edition, then a collector's edition, a Dawn of the Creed Legendary edition, which is a little expensive. You told me the price for that, and I thought you were joking.
$800
Canadian. Well, now if you want to get one, you got to pay over $2,000 Canadian on eBay.
Yep.
So,
I believe there's only 999 copies of the expensive one. You got like a sign something or other. I didn't really read up on it because I wasn't going to buy that one. I just saw a picture of it and then read a teeny snippet.
I have the picture actually here. Dawn of the Creed Legendary Edition. So, you get a sweet case. You get lithographs, obviously. Certificate of authenticity. You get a actual Bayek's amulet, which is actually an eagle skull.
And I remember I was either you told me or I was reading this. If you buy the super duper expensive collector's edition, you actually start getting pieces of it right away. They send you the box, they send you the statue, I think they send you the amulet and something else. And then when the game comes out, they send you the rest of the contents of the box, including the game.
Oh, I had no idea that was actually the case with it.
Yeah. So you're also paying to get some of this stuff faster too.
Okay, well that's. I mean, I still wouldn't pay $800, but that's really cool that they're at least giving you a little bit to get you hyped. You get the soundtrack, art cards, art books. You get a world map, which is pretty cool. The statue alone, 73 centimeters high. Like I saw, like the scale of this thing. It covered like half of Ubisoft's coffee table when they showcased it. It is gorgeous. Like, I love your Ezio Leap of Faith statue that you got. It is absolutely amazing. I think this would look fantastic next to it.
It would make Ezio look like a small baby.
Oh, yeah. So that's the most expensive edition. Now we got the regular Dawn of the Creed edition. And this one, it looks basically the same, but the statue is smaller. This one is 39 centimeters.
I see. It's like the same statue, but on a smaller scale and with less detail then.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it has... it does have the amulet. It has the map. It's got the steel book. Has the art book and the art cards.
No lithographs, though.
Yeah.
And the box is different as well.
Does it not come with a season pass?
It does.
Oh, there
all
it
of
is
these
over
ones
there.
have the seasons pass. Yeah. So it's good to know then the statue is what's really smaller. But you were right. The Legendary Edition is one of 999.
Oh.
So it is very exclusive.
I like that other statue that you can also get because the one we're looking at has Bayek perched atop a pedestal of some kind, firing his bow with his eagle on his shoulder. But there's another statue you can buy. I believe this is just a statue on its own. It's collectible.
Yes.
And he stands with his bow at his side, and his eagle is perched on his arm. That's really cool.
This one is called the Bayek Protector of Egypt, and this is 32 centimeters high, and it looks gorgeous. This is one I'm definitely gonna pick up. I'm gonna put this next to my unopened Connor Kenway. They both got their bows out.
You're gonna buy a box. That's all you're doing. You buy a box to stack on top of another box.
I can't open this. How could I open it? Look at, he's got the scenery behind him in this box. It's gorgeous. The scenery in the box is better than my wall.
Okay, just print out the box. Print it out. Fold it, glue it together, and there you go. It's the same thing, and you save yourself a ton of money.
Well, you're not wrong.
I'm not right either.
No.
Hold on.
So moving further, here's the Gods edition. So we get a completely different figurine of Bayek. This is a 10-inch high figurine, and his eagle isn't in it. He's just leaning forward on a rock with his sword out. And, it looks pretty cool, but you get the art book, soundtrack, map. I don't know if we cut the Seasons Pass with this one, but you get all the pre-order bonuses, and you get a cool case, too, for your statue. So this one, I can't remember the price on this one, but
We've basically worked our way down the list from most expensive to least, right?
basically, yeah. After that one, I believe the one I pre-ordered was... I paid $139 Canadian, and it comes with just a steel case, no statue, all the in-game DLC, and I think that's it. I don't think it comes with the soundtrack. It comes with the Seasons Pass. That's it. And I'm a little disappointed, to be honest. I mean, I did get the pre-order bonus, which was a pin, and it says Assassin's Creed 10-year anniversary on it. It has 2007 to 17, which, I'm all for that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'd much rather pay an extra $60 and get the $200 edition with the statue. And, that's available. I guess it's only available on the Ubisoft Workshop. When you go further down the line from this, it's just a $100 edition, which I think comes with the season's pass, but a few extra stuff is taken away, and then you get the basic $79.99 version. Which one would you get? You're probably gonna go with just the basic.
Yeah, probably just the
79.
basic one, because I'm most interested in the game. If I want to get a statue, I might buy that cool one that we just talked about, where he's standing with the boat aside and eagle on his
Yeah.
shoulder. I might get that if I really like the game.
Yeah.
But I'll just play the game first.
Yeah. No, fair enough. They've already dropped some apparel too. They've dropped a couple hoodies and shirts for Assassin's Creed Origins with their new logo. Now it's the Assassin's Creed logo with the Eye of Horus in there.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic. I mean, they've always twisted the logo around for each game, like the black flag with the skull and like Unity with like the guillotine slashed through. So, what do you think so far? This kind of a change.
Overall?
Well, just
Or
from
just for-
just for Origins, but you can go overall if you like. It's totally up
For
to you.
Origins, just for Origin, I think this is exactly where it needs to go. They needed to change it up. They need to do something different. And we saw that in other games at E3 too. You could see that Sony and Microsoft felt kind of pressured, I would say. And Ubisoft, they knew they needed to change Assassin's Creed at this point. We've talked about it. The internet's talked about it. Plenty of people have talked about it. Because Assassin's Creed had basically become the new Call of Duty. Comes out every single year. It's the same kind of gameplay. Pretty much the same engine. There's a lot of walking. There's a lot of talking. There's a lot of eavesdropping. And you're basically just playing it for the story if you buy every game. Because that kind of gameplay gets old real fast. Unless you're a diehard fan named Taylor.
No, you make a good point, and I know I am a diehard fan, but I agree. It was getting old. It wasn't pulling in the traction that it could. Syndicate was great. I think it was an amazing story, but these games were just turning out to be just based on story, and
Yeah.
there's two kinds of gamers I see out there. There's the ones that like the story, and there's the ones that like the gameplay. Unfortunately, more people like the gameplay, and
there's
they
people that like
boycott.
both.
There's not many of them. That's like in like the Sasquatch zone where like you're not sure if it exists, but you want to believe it. But I'm definitely more of the person who likes the story. That's why
I
I've been
like
attached.
both, but when I'm playing a game that has gameplay in it, I don't want my gameplay to be walking and talking. That's all it comes down to. I can play a game that's solely story based. I can play a visual novel. I can play whatever else. I could play Assassin's Creed if it was all cinematics and no gameplay, because I'd just be watching it then. I wouldn't have to pick up the controller and hold forward on the analog stick. But when it came to that, it was running around, I get a little bit of gameplay, and then it was a lot of walking and talking and cutscene. And then my gameplay was repetitive, counter-based combat. That got boring. I did play the first game, I loved it. Played the second game, I thought it was amazing. Played a little bit of the future titles, and I thought, Black Flag was pretty good. Because it changed things up.
Yeah.
It had the boats, it had the pirate themes, it had the exploration. That was all that game had. The rest of it was still, all its faults and flaws are there. Finally, with Origins, they've gone back and they've taken a huge gameplay focus and they've completely redone it. It still has the Assassin's Creed feel to it, but they're taking hints from other franchises that have been successful and fun. Now, what I want to know is, if this game takes off, are they going to repeat the same thing for the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah. I hope not.
Eventually we'll get like an Assassin's Creed 22 where they have finally changed the gameplay yet again to be space-based VR combat.
God. Space-based VR combat. You know, I totally agree with what you said about how they took some things from the other franchises. Like, for me, it feels like they took the best of all the Assassin's Creed games and brought it into this. They have the sailing again. They have swimming. They have the new movements that they introduced, like from Assassin's Creed Unity. They've learnt and they've adapted and they've created this beautiful world that I feel like people want. Even the people that say like, oh, it looks the same, like, oh, I'm boycotting it, it's just a money grabber. You know, I feel like they need to give it a try. Ubisoft listened to the fans. They put a lot into this game. I mean, if it was a money grab, it would have came out last year. I mean...
That's true. You know, that's actually really true. They took a year off for it. And you can see, even just with their historical accuracy and like the arrows along the arm, Ubisoft loves that kind of stuff. The team loves working on that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a cash grab. I mean, obviously that's their goal. They want to make money. They're a company that makes video games, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
But it's less of a repetitive Call of Duty. Here's another installment. Go buy it, folks. They're actually trying to like bring interest back into it. They're trying something new, and that's what I like to see. Hey, Ubisoft, if you're listening, send us review copies. We would love to play it early, and we would love to review it in depth. However you want to score it, whatever, just let us know.
Send us a new console with that too while you're at it. I'd love play it on an Xbox One X 4K Ultra.
We'll send the console back afterwards.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's all good. But we would love to play it, like, for real. I mean, I want to play it. You want to play it.
Oh yeah.
We got to play it.
We gotta play it. You know, when this game drops, we're gonna be doing for sure some live streams. We're gonna do some more reviews for this game. Like,
I think so. I think when it drops, you and I are going to have to play it. Obviously no multiplayer, so we'll play it separately, or even if you just lug your console over, we'll try to play it side by side, or however we can. And jot down some notes, jot down some points, and make another episode or two.
Yeah, you know, it definitely was a bit before we could get this episode out, but we wanted to hold off because we knew Assassin's Creed was coming to E3. So, and I feel like that was a lot of information that we got to indulge.
Indulge in. Yes, that's the correct word.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So with Origins dropping, how do you feel now about where they go from here? I know you said like, oh, this space VR combat, whatever, but
that was a joke, but yes.
How do you feel like if we get that sequel, if they tease it maybe a movie, who knows? But where do you see the next form of Assassin's Creed?
Where do I see the next form? Okay, let's say this game comes out. Let's say it's really, really great. I would definitely like to see a sequel then, but they'd have to change up something else. I don't want to see them go the repetitive route again. That will scare away the fans. And as far as another movie goes, you know, if they make a ton of money off the game, they could just pump out another TV show or movie or something like that.
Yeah.
And as far as the movie goes, maybe they could do a tie-in with the game. Maybe they could do an Egypt one. That'd be kind of cool, I guess. But again, they would have to change it up. You know, it's all about trying something new, seeing what sticks, and then they could improve upon it a little bit, but not for 6 or 7 games.
Yeah. So I know there were talks about their Netflix series, but let's say Ubisoft has hooked Netflix over and they're dropping Assassin's Creed Origins, the TV series, on Netflix. Would that excite you? Or would you want them to just do a whole new character?
Take the cinematics out of the game. Have it. The game is the gameplay, and then you can go to Netflix to watch the story.
So no live characters or live actors?
You'd have a little bit of cinematics and storyline, of course, but you would get a lot more from the TV show.
Yeah. They can't do the same thing. If they're gonna do another one and make it like a Ezio trilogy, they got to be very careful. The Ezio trilogy had a lot of repetition in it, so they have to do something fresh.
I am tired of seeing Paris and buildings and all that white and gray that Assassin's Creed had before. This one has color to it. It's different. It's got cool environments. That's what I want, because Assassin's Creed 3 was the first one to really change up the environment.
It was.
And that was cool, but the game itself had its flaws.
Yeah. As cool as the times and the periods were that they tackled, like in Europe with the French Revolution and Syndicate, it definitely...
They didn't try to go back either. After they did Assassin's Creed 3... sorry, I worded that wrong. They did go back. They did Assassin's Creed 3 with a different environment, and then they went back with like Unity and stuff like that. They went back to the boring old... Look at all these buildings and cool locations. The graphics are so good.
Yeah, and you know, it was smaller scale too. Like, if you go from Black Flag to Unity, that's huge. Like, Black Flag was massive, and Unity was a lot smaller sized of an area to scout out and adventure on.
Yeah.
So, this being the biggest Assassin's Creed area to explore is fantastic, and you're right. Being a total change in scenery, that's what pulled a lot of people in. It was the visuals. It was beautiful. Like, I feel like we've come full circle because
I feel like we have. I think we're starting to ramble on a little bit.
Yeah. It drops October 27th. I pre-ordered it. I'm getting this game 110%.
And that won't be the end of the news either. I'm sure Ubisoft will tease us some more. They'll reveal new stuff about the game, and we'll get to talk about that later.
Absolutely. You know, there's more gameplay videos dropping by the second, and I'm posting them all the time on Assassin's Creed Universe on Facebook. So if you follow us, check that out. There's going to be tons of updates. If you want to find all our other shows, it's available at GeekVerse Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Twitch, YouTube, everything, iTunes, you name it, and GeekVersePodcast.com. Anything else you want to add, Reuben?
No, I think you covered everything, Taylor.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me, and we'll see you all later.
Yeah, sounds good. Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to Geeks Creed, Episode 9, via the GeekVerse. We'll see you in the search bar.